Your relationship doesn't have to be equal. It has to be reciprocal. Yes, let's say this again. Repeat after me. Your relationship doesn't have to be equal. It needs to be reciprocal. I know it sounds like it's the same thing. Maybe it doesn't to you, but to me, I always thought that relationships needed to be equal. Because I'm a strong woman. If you're a strong woman as well, you know what I'm saying. You want to feel like you are not being taken advantage of, that you're taking something in return from the relationship, not just giving. And that concept per se, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. And as we're going to talk about throughout this podcast, you should want to take something in return in a relationship. Otherwise, you just become the mother of the person that you're in a relationship with. And we don't want that. But still, there's a huge difference between expecting equality and reciprocity. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Your relationship, and trust me when I say this, can transform if you just simply switch between these two ideas. Come have a seat at the adults table and let's talk about it. I'm Fernanda Rodriguez and welcome to the adults table. What is the main difference between equality and reciprocity in a relationship? Equality is grounded in fairness. Reciprocity is grounded in value. Pay attention. Listen to this again. Equality is grounded in fairness, and reciprocity is grounded in value. What I mean by that is if you're the type of person that every single thing that you give, you expect the very same thing in return because you're entitled to, just because you gave, you're entitled to receive in the same currency, then you're more concerned about not losing than about gaining. When I operate in a 50-50 mindset, whether that's a romantic relationship, a friendship, whatever, I'm assuming two things. First, I'm assuming that people value the same things. Two, I'm assuming that people have the same things to give, that people are good at the same things. But let me tell you something. Guess what? You're in a relationship with a human being that is completely different than you, completely different. And that's awesome. That's great because guess what? If you're not good at something and your partner is good at it, then amazing, wonderful. You can complement each other. Why wouldn't you want that? So when we go beyond the foundation of the relationship, respect, trust, things that, yes, both parties need to give equally and in the same currency. When you go beyond that, then it's the time for you to start questioning, what do I really value? To know what it is that you want to ask for. Because if you just operate in a way of not wanting to feel at loss, then you just become resentful of your partner whenever they don't give to you what you gave to them. And then at that point, why are you even in a relationship? Just be in a relationship with yourself. And I say this with love because that was 100% my mindset. I used to feel so upset. I'd be like, if I do this for you, why can't you do this for me? And then at some point, I stopped to think, I'm like, okay, do I even care about this? Can I just be okay giving certain things and not receiving in return the same way, the exact same way? Can I just be okay with that if it's something that I don't give a shit about? Now, when a relationship is grounded in reciprocity, you're more concerned about value. How can this person add the proportional amount of value in my life that I add to their life? It's about that. You have to balance the relationship. So we're going to talk about this. It's not that you have to give more than you receive and then you shouldn't ask. But what I'm saying is that you have to know what you want to ask in the first place. What fills your cup, basically? Because otherwise, you're just going to be, again, a resentful person. And you don't want that. Trust me. You're going to be very unhappy. So let's talk about and let's think about balancing the relationship, but with whatever adds value to you and to your partner. Now, in order to do this, you have to pay attention to some factors. Number one, what do you value? But really, what do you value? Don't assume that that's a simple question to ask. Because especially now with social media, that every single day, every minute of the day, we see what other people value all the time. And we think that that's also what we value just because it's what we're seeing. Or we think that we should value these things because if everyone else is doing it, then it might mean that that's a way of showing love. And if that's a way of showing love and my partner is not doing it to me, it means that they don't love me or they don't love me enough. So don't assume that you know what you value. You learn what you value as you go, and you learn what you value when you are in relationships, experimenting and experiencing relationships. You don't learn what you value by going on social media and having a storm of content, of relationship content, showing, oh, get yourself a man that blah, blah, blah. Get yourself a man who does this. Get yourself a man. Dude, what if you don't want to get yourself a man that does X, Y, and Z? But you have to know that you don't want it. Otherwise, you're just going to suffer for nothing. So you have to take a step back and you have to create the habit of questioning and challenging the things that you actually value. Because a lot of those we just get because everyone else wants it. I saw a lot of people commenting about this, a lot of women commenting about this recently on social media about flowers, for example. Some of them are like, I just found myself very annoyed at my boyfriend and my husband because he wouldn't give me flowers. But I noticed that one, I've never communicated, and we're going to talk about communication. And two, I don't even give a shit about flowers. So, this overwhelming content that we get all the time of your boyfriend should be this way, your husband should be that way, you shouldn't settle for less than this. First of all, it's not realistic because you're only seeing a very small part of what that relationship is, and you're seeing the part that the person is choosing to show. And second, even if it's true, even it's that beautiful, awesome, good for them, it doesn't mean that you're the same person and you value the same things. If you do, awesome. Then you move to the communication phase. But if you don't, be honest with yourself. Have the courage to be honest. And at this day and age where every time that we see a content, we feel like we should want the same thing or we should be the same way or relationship should be the same way, it's challenging. Be aware of that. Now let's move to the second part because, yeah, awesome. Now you know what you value. And again, what you value is going to change throughout life. Allow yourself to change as well. Just be very aware. But now that you know that you value, you have to ask for things that you want. You have to ask for things that you want. You cannot skip this part. It sounds obvious, it's very basic, but many of us make agreements with ourselves in our minds and we never communicate them with the people that needed to be in that agreement with us. So you think, oh, I care about flowers. My partner should know this. My partner should do something about this. They should just know because it's obvious. It is not. In adult relationships, you communicate. We think that people gain more points in life if they just read our minds. And I'm going to be honest, it's great. It's great when a person is able to read your mind. It's great, but it's not realistic. You don't live relationships in your life, friendships, romantic relationships, expecting that people will know what you want and that they will know all the time. It just doesn't happen. Your partner can only know if something matters to you if you tell them. So start telling them right now. If something is important and special to you, find a way of verbalizing it, of voicing it out. You have to let them know. You have to give them the opportunity to do it for you. And it's also important to say that when I say communicate, it's not just say, hey, why are you not doing this for me? Because that's what we do. A lot of times in the middle of a fight, I'm like, but why didn't you do this for me? But I was expecting this from you. But we're human. It's going to happen. That we're in fights and we wait for the moment of a fight to just burst and start being very upset about not having something. There is a massive difference when you communicate with your partner outside of the context of a fight. When you communicate with them on a regular day, on a Sunday morning, on a Tuesday night, I don't know, and you tell them, hey, babe, hey, honey, hey, whatever you call your bae, I don't know. Hey, I feel very special when you do X, Y, and Z for me. Or you tell them, that one time that you did X, Y, and Z for me, I was so happy. I would love if you did more of that. You can just communicate coming out of a place of love and not of defensiveness, of just being like, why the fuck are you not doing this for me? The tone changes everything, the context changes everything. So let your partner know out of a place of love. Awesome. So are we done? Not yet. There's a third part that we have to discuss. Please pay attention to this one because a lot of people are not aware of this. Not only become good at knowing what matters to you, at asking for what you want, but become good at being comfortable in receiving what your partner gives you. I've seen many people be completely upset that their partners were not doing something for them, but whenever they actually do what they want to, They don't accept it. They're like, oh no, you didn't have to. Oh no, bro, become good at accepting. Please, I need you to just like be grateful and just be like, I appreciate this. And I say this because I used to be like this. It used to be very hard for me to accept things without feeling guilt, without feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to pay this back 5 times more. I need to do something 5 times bigger for him. Otherwise, it's not enough. Otherwise, it's just that sensation of having to pay it back. And having to pay back is healthy. Feel like, oh, this person does something for me. So I want to do something for them. That's great. That's healthy. But this person did something for me and I have to do something 5 times bigger for them. That's not healthy. You're coming out of a place of guilt. So when you feel undeserving or when you feel afraid of accepting things because you think that if you're not the one who's always on top, overly giving, then the person is going to abandon you because then they're doing too much for you and you're becoming a burden for them. A lot of us think this way deep down. Then no matter what the person does for you, you won't feel happy with it. You won't accept it. So start noticing and asking yourself if you do feel comfortable in a position of receiving. Many of us, myself included, feel much more comfortable in a position of only giving. So start noticing how you feel when people do things for you. Do you let them do things for you? Or you say, no, 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 you don't have to do this. No, 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 I got this. Do you feel the need of pay back 100 times more? Start noticing these things. Because if you do, it's time to change. It's time to go from this place to a different place and more beautiful and whole and awesome, which is the place of thank you so much for doing this for me. You deserve it. So start acting accordingly. If you don't do this, you're going to keep lying to yourself and you're going to be like, oh, nobody does anything for me. So nothing is ever going to be enough for you because the problem is not that people are not giving. The problem is that you're not receiving. Be aware of that. All of that said, if you still feel very uncomfortable in a position of receiving, let me tell you something that's going to change your mind, hopefully. Relationships are rooted in the balance between giving and receiving. So remember when I said that it's healthy to receive something and want to give something in return? It's healthy. It means that, listen, this person showed me that they care about me. I also want to show them that I care about them. And then you do it in a different moment. You do it in a different way. You don't have to pay it back that very moment. You don't have to pay it back in the same currency, but it's good to just show each other that we care about each other. So relationships are the balance between giving and receiving. The only relationship, listen to me, the only relationship in which there is no balance between giving and receiving is the relationship between you and your parents. I'm going to repeat. The only relationship that balance doesn't exist is the relationship between you and your parents. Why? Because they gave you life. There is nothing larger than life that you can give them. Oh, but my parents didn't love me that much. Because my parents didn't. Oh, because my doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think that what your parents gave you was enough, if it wasn't. It doesn't matter if you think that your parents suck. It does not matter the relationship that you have with them. Doesn't matter that you didn't ask to be born. None of these things matter. The fact is they gave you something that you will never be able to pay back, which is life. There's nothing that's larger than life. Why am I saying this? Well, 2 reasons. One, stop trying to pay back. Stop trying to, think that there's something in life that you can give to your parents that's ever going to be bigger than that. Just take what they give you. Be a good daughter, be a good person. But some of us feel this huge responsibility and obligation. The word's not responsibility, it's obligation to pay it back. It comes out of a place of love, but we're like, oh my gosh, I gotta be the perfect daughter to my parents because I owe them. I owe them everything. I owe them so much. Just take it. Take what they gave you. Learn how to receive. Move on. But that's not the main topic of the video. That can be a different episode. Let's go back to relationships. Why do you have to understand that that's the only relationship that the balance doesn't exist? Because if you only give to your partner, you become their mother. And although that can be a comfortable place for you because you think that if you're so useful to them, like their mothers would be, then they will never leave you because you're useful. How can they leave you? You've done everything for them. You've been everything that they wanted you to be. You've always stopped your life to do whatever your partner wanted you to do. How can a person like that leave you? Well, they can leave you because, again, at that point, they see you as their mother, not as a partner, not as an equal, okay? Not as, again, a person that's able to give and receive and keep that balance. You might think that doing everything for them and not asking for much is a blessing. You might think that you're being the perfect wife, the best wife, but I'm telling you right now, at some point, you're either going to, one, start resenting your partner, or two, he's going to start not respecting you as a woman because, again, you've become their mother. So asking for things and receiving things is healthy for your relationship. And just to clarify, because I think this is important too, when I say become their mothers, understand that what I'm saying is giving in excess and not asking for anything in return. Why is it important for me to clarify this? The other day, I saw a TikTok of this woman saying that her fiance asked her to wrap presents for his family for Christmas. And she was like, fuck no, I'm not doing this. And girls, you shouldn't do that because they're going to think you're their mothers. And then they're going to run to you whenever they have to do something because they're going to ask you to do that thing for them. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. So, because wrapping presents in that person's mind is something that a mother would do, she thinks that if she does it, it means that she's becoming the mother. But it's not as simple as I do something that is perceived as something a mother would do, therefore I'm becoming their mother. What? Again, as long as giving and receiving is still balanced, you're good. Some people are like, oh, I would never do my husband's laundry because then I'm going to become their mothers. I used to be like this too. It's okay to give to our partners. It's okay to help them. You're not going to lose your identity. You're not going to be less of a strong woman. You're fine. Just make sure that you're also getting stuff in return. That's it. Make sure that it's balanced. So to wrap it up, your relationship needs to be reciprocal, not equal. Equality is about fairness. Reciprocity is about value. You have to know what you value to know what you want to ask. You have to become good at asking, and you also have to become good at receiving. Ask yourself, do I know what I value? Do I know how to ask for what I value? Can I receive what people give me? And I assure you, all of your relationships, not only your romantic relationships, are going to improve. I'll see you on the next episode at the Adults Table.